The muscle cars you can buy for $7,000 to $1,000. Looking for an affordable muscle car? Check out these budget-friendly options that won't break the bank. Whether you're restoring or just starting your collection, these cars offer great value for your money. 1996 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 SS. Starting used price, $7,400. Launched back in the 90s, the fourth-gen Chevrolet Camaro, fondly called the Catfish Camaro, is yet another example of the punk era and bold designs making it to the mainstream. The Catfish never garnered the same love and fan following as its predecessors, but that's good news for budget-conscious classic car shoppers. Nonetheless, the fourth-gen Camaro did get a few special editions that continue to be sought after in the used market, and the 1996 Camaro Z8 SS is one of them. Essentially an upgrade over the Z28, it featured a V8 engine rated at 305 horsepower, 30 horses more than the regular Z28. That is not much in the grand scheme of things, but it is enough to cut a few precious seconds off track times. The Z28 SS could accelerate from 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds and could run the quarter-mile track in 13.8 seconds at a finishing speed of 101.4 mph. 1972 Chevrolet Vega. Starting used price, $7,400. If you grew up through the 80s and 90s, you know how easy and cheap it was to build a Chevy Vega into a muscle car that simply blew the doors off the competition. The Vega is still one of those project cars that builders love to get their hands on. But because they have become less common in the used car world, they can cost you up to 6 digits when built to the max. There are times when an auction lets them go for cheaper, though, so if the Vega is the project car you have been looking for, have some patience and keep a close eye out, because they have sold for as little as $5,750 in the past. For some reason, if you look at the value of a Chevy Vega on sites like Haggerty, they claim that a car in pristine condition is only worth $3,425. You have to know that those numbers are really low, so the market prices above were taken from an auction comparison site, Classic.com. If you want a great project car, the Vega is the way to go. Just keep an eye out. One will come up that will not break the bank. 2008 Chrysler 300 SRT8. Starting used price, $7,500. The 2008 Chrysler 300 SRT8 is a masterclass in speedy luxury. Not only does it exude the essence of refinement and opulence, it roars to the heavens with an aggressive Hemi straight from Motor City. Surviving for 2 generations and 9 model years, it was consistently the most expensive of all Chrysler 300 model year offerings, and it featured special upgrades that were geared toward performance, including ducts on the body, Brembo brakes, a small rear spoiler, and large alloy wheels with staggered tires. The growling 6.1-liter V8 Hemi pumps out 425 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque and is paired to a 5-speed automatic transmission. This wombo combo allowed the nearly 4,200-pound sedan to barrel from 0 to 60 mph in 4.6 seconds, negotiating the quarter mile in 13.0 seconds on its way to a top speed of 173 mph. The rewards didn't stop at the bold, sophisticated exterior or the impressive performance, as the cabin offered occupants a comfy, well-equipped experience with all the bells and whistles Chrysler had to offer. 1987 Chevrolet El Camino SS. Starting used price, $7,500. Since the Ford Ranchero was already listed, leaving out the Chevrolet El Camino would not be proper. Since Chevy likes to add some muscle to their vehicles, you might as well go all out and look for a 1987 El Camino SS, because they are still not completely out of this world in cost. The SS came with one engine option, which was the 305 V8. The 305 8-cylinder pushes out 150 horsepower. However, since it has a 4-barrel carburetor on top of the intake, you can watch the fuel gauge go down when you slam the pedal to the metal. Track times were not great, scooting from 0 to 60 in 9.1 seconds and the quarter mile in 16.5 seconds. But remember that the Monte Carlo SS had a 454 under the hood. So if you can find a wrecked one, it would be an easy swap, and well worth the blood and sweat to do so. 1972 Mercury Comet. Starting used start price, $8,100. The Mercury Comet may not look like much on the outside, but they all came with engines from a small 170 inline-6 to the 302 that could push a little more power out. Depending upon the car being considered, the 1972 Mercury Comet is a great starting point for classic muscle car building, especially if planning on fitting an engine from a Ford Thunderbird or Mustang under the hood. The 1972 Mercury Comet was not designed solely for muscle car duty, so you can find cars with engines ranging from the small fuel-efficient 6-cylinders, such as the 82-horsepower 170 Qden, all the way up to the small block 302 V8 that could push out up to 220 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. This combination pushed the car from 0 to 60 in 9.4 seconds and rumbled through the quarter mile in just over 17 seconds. 1975 Chevrolet Camaro. Starting used price, $8,400. You may be scratching your head and asking why another Camaro? The answer is very simple. The Camaro is one of the original muscle cars from back in the day. One that can be found ready to race, as is, or built up into a beast of a machine that will literally spin the tires off the wheels. The 1975 Camaro is a great year to look for, because it was not one of the best for the Camaro, making it the perfect year for anyone wanting to build one. The 5.7L, or 350 as it is more commonly called, could only pump out a measly 155 horsepower, which was not much when you consider that the car weighed up to 3,420 pounds. That let the car struggle through the quarter-mile run, taking a painfully slow 17.4 seconds and only reaching a speed of 78 miles per hour. Ouch! 1973 Mercury Cougar. Starting used price, $9,100. In 1974, the third-generation Mercury Cougar went bigger instead of following along the lines of the rest of the industry. This move was meant to move the Cougar away from competing with the Ford Mustang and into a place where it could go grill-to-grill with the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme and the Buick Regal. Even so, since it came with a choice of two different engines, the 351 and the 351 Cobra Jet, there is a chance to get one cheap from someone that does not know how to tell the difference between the two. You can expect some good track times if you can get your hands on one with the more powerful Cobra Jet engine, 266 horsepower and 301 pound-feet of torque. From 0 to 60 mph, you will take 6.3 seconds, and the quarter-mile run will only take 14.8 seconds. Now, mind you, that is without any upgrades or improvements. 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport. Starting used price, $9,400. The Ford Gran Torino Sport from 1972, also sold as a rebadged Mercury Cyclone GT, was a stunning transformation story that took the regular Ford Torino, a cool classic, and gave it a new lease on life. Prices vary greatly depending on trim and engine, but you can find some for as low as $10,450. However, expect 6-digit odometer readings and bad paint on such examples. If you want a pristine example with low miles, expect to shell out more than the market prices currently show. The Ford Gran Torino Sport in 1972 came with the option of two engines, a 140 horsepower 302 V8 and a 248 horsepower 351 Cleveland. The versions with the Cleveland are higher priced, so for the sake of this list, the 302 is the one to look for. Along with 140 horses, it could push out 230 pound-feet of torque, pushing it from 0 to 60 in 11 seconds and through the quarter mile in 18 seconds. Cut off some weight, make some upgrades, and you can turn it into a good-looking, viable contender on almost any track. 1987 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442, starting used price, $10,000. Oldsmobile's 442 package imbued the Oldsmobile Cutlass with exhilarating performance, which, predictably, made it very popular. Despite its success, however, it had to go due to the regulations that led to the end of the great muscle car age. Nevertheless, Oldsmobile still offered a toned-down version of the package. The automaker dropped the 442 entirely in the early 1980s. To many observers, the Cutlass 442 was dead. However, Oldsmobile resurrected the moniker for a brief period in the mid-1980s. The last Cutlass to wear the 442 name was the 1987 model, which makes it quite special. It features a 170 horsepower V8, a beefy drivetrain, rear air shocks, and upgraded suspension, and you can pick one up for as low as $10,000.